Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to be looking at some of the more popular atheistic science slow boy, soy boy arguments um, about how people derive meaning in life. One of them is universe is big, therefore God not real, and the other one is about the multiverse, right? Which is kind of based off this video I've seen on Twitter. Um, if you want to see what I'm referring to, it is this basically. Oh my gosh! Oh, the Earth is so small. Oh, dude, it's so small. And then we got all of this science stuff, and we got galaxy, and then we got more galaxies. And who will even know like what exists in those galaxies? We'll never know. But guess what? Even beyond the galaxies, we have whatever that is, the universe. And oh my gosh, we might even have multiple different universes with different laws of nature. Oh, my mind is so blown, right? My mind is so freaking blown right now. It's insane. I mean, just imagine the world is so small. We're all so small in the grand cosmic scheme of things. Therefore, really, that just makes me realize. I mean, nothing has meaning, right? It's just everything is meaningless. We're just all a bunch of specks of dust, just a bunch of machines, just by these biological machines. Really, there's no meaning in life. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm just going to act as if it's meaning, and I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is actually so beautiful, right? That the world is so much bigger than us, and that's just the universe being like this, bro. Yeah, acting like saying that life doesn't have meaning and then acting like life has meaning is a pretty reasonable thing to do if you're a schizophrenic. But if you are a mentally stable, sane person, that is not something you do. We call that schizophrenia. Acting like something that doesn't exist exists. That's what schizophrenia is called, if you didn't know that. I don't see how this isn't philosophical schizophrenia. You're basically saying there is no meaning, life is meaningless, there's no morality, no rules, no ethics. Everything is just dust, everything is just lawlessness. I'm just going to act as if they have laws, they have rules, and all that kind of stuff. No one really lives life that way, but I'm not here to just really talk about that. This idea that a lot of people have, mostly atheists, of course, that because the universe is so big that life is meaningless is completely idiotic. I mean, meaning is not derived from size, if you didn't know that. Meaning isn't derived from the bigness of planets or how many planets or how many living things there are. If there even are different living things, we still don't know if there are, right? And we most likely know there aren't because aliens are just the code people make up to support their atheistic worldviews. But what people call aliens at the same time are most likely demons too. But I think that's a different topic, something that I've already talked about with my boy Gravantis a couple of years ago, more than a year ago, I think. So you can go check that out, where we talk about the topic of aliens, alien phenomena, how it's actually historical. We've seen examples of alien visitors, and the reality is that those alien visitors were just demons preaching their own doctrines, essentially. So I want to kind of repeat the sense that this idea that people have, that the universe being big means life is meaningless, they don't understand what meaning even is. Meaning isn't derived from size. Otherwise, elephants will have more meaning than we do, right? When you're looking at, from a high spot, like from a mountain, and you just look at buildings, you see, oh, do you say to yourself, oh wow, those buildings are so big, I bet they have a lot of meaning in them. That's not how you look at the world, right? So we don't, meaning and bigness of the universe or the multiplicity of planets, they have nothing to do with it. Meaning is something completely different. First of all, if you're an atheist, of course there's going to be no meaning because you removed and you deny the very being that is meaning himself, that is God, right? But as people who believe in God, we can easily say, first of all, why is the universe so big, right? And this is kind of a sarcastic argument I've heard being used. Oh, you theists, you think that God created this huge universe and all of these different planets, and you think that he cares about you. He cares about you in your small little butt planet, your little poop planet, and you just think that he looks at you and he cares about what you do. And that he's not looking at other universes. Do you not understand? When we say God exists, do you think that we're saying that there is a old man in the sky that is like there's a humanoid? That's not what we're saying God is. God is omnipresent, he's omniscient, he's omnibenevolent. He has knowledge of everything he has created. He is the one that created all of those planets. And by the way, creating them, it doesn't take any work. You can just do it easily like that, right? Whether you want to call it magic or whether you want to call it miracle, you can call it anything you want. But for God, creating all of those planets or the universe is really not a big task. In fact, many church fathers, such as St. Cyril of Alexandria, when they're exegeting the book of Genesis, sometimes they get into the topic of these different planets and the size of the universe, and they say, well, the reason why we have a lot of planets and the universe is so big, and it's bigger than the earth that we inhabit in, yes, these people actually knew that there was a huge universe before we had all of these, because they had mathematics on their side, basically. I'm not a mathematics pro, but we didn't know about space in the 19th century, okay? People had an idea of it way before. And St. Cyril of Alexandria, for example, says, well, the reason we have so many stars and all that kind of stuff is because God is just showing how powerful he is, right? That's just a show of his power, that he can just do it. He's not some man that has to work hard to do it. For him, it's just easy. Right? All of this is just easy for him, just creating things like that. So as a theist, when I look at the size of the universe, I just say, wow, look at God's, almighty power. It really puts it into perspective. I don't think to myself, oh man, I'm so meaningless. Like everything I do in my life and my relationships, it's just nothing because like there's a lot of big balls of gas full of ass in them. That's not what I think. Only a sick person thinks that way. Rather, I think, wow, God created this world and he created a lot of these planets. He's very powerful and he loves us so much that he cares about us. We are the only ones that he cares about, right? We are made in the image of God, and the rest of creation was made for us, according to the commentary of St. Cyril of Alexandria in the book of Genesis. So I think this should suffice for some kind of a response. I don't think it's a very difficult argument. I don't think if you're someone that thought that argument was good and that made you question your faith, you need to work on a lot. There's a lot of things for you to work on, I think. You are very damaged. I'm not saying that to make fun of you. We're all very damaged, but you are very intellectually damaged. Not in I'm not saying you are mentally retarded. I'm not saying that you are that. I'm just saying that the way your brain thinks, your mind thinks, it needs to be reworked because whoever did this to you, they have to pay the price. Basically, it's really not that big of a problem. But I think because this video addressed this issue of the multiverse, right? So I want to talk about the multiverse a little bit too. Oh, we had the multiverse. Now, there are different interpretations of the multiverse. I think there really can, if you actually think about it enough, there can really only be one specific understanding of the multiverse that is seemingly possible, but that is just not epistemically possible for us to know about, which means that it's just not true, right? Epistemology is a part of philosophy. If you cannot account for how you know your worldview, you can't really, argue for the truthness of that worldview. So the parallel universes or multiverse stuff, some people say that there are multiple universes where all of these, all of these things that we can even talk about, comprehend, they just exist, right? So there's a multiverse where the gravity is inverse. There's a multiverse where everything is 5-dimensional. There's a multiverse where I don't know, there is no language. People aren't speaking with each other and that kind of stuff. So on and so forth. So I'm going to deal with that interpretation. The problem with those kinds of arguments is that they're essentially trying to say that it's just all chaos, right? And we just happen to live in a universe where a lot of things make sense. It's just by perfect chance, and there are actual different multiverses that this is not the case. And so we are just a bunch of lucky little creatures, right? Now, the problem with that is when you're talking about different universes and these universes existing, you're already presupposing certain logical things that universally apply to all of the different multiverses. First of all, that all of these multiverses exist in the first place, that they are real, that they exist in reality. If you're going to be talking about different multiverses with different laws of nature, there are also laws of, apparently they have rules then. These multiverses have rules. They have laws and natural rules. And the idea that I'm getting at is that all of these multiverses have to also be logical, right? They have to be logical. So you're not going to have, so really you're not going to have beings explaining things without using language, because language, that's what language by nature is. Or you're not going to have a multiverse where 2 + 2 = 5. And when I say that, I'm not saying symbol of 2 plus symbol of 2 equals symbol of 5. And that symbol of 5 is what corresponds as 4. No, I'm just saying literally 2 + 2 = 5, right? Meaning that if you put 2 apples and 2 other apples together, you're going to have 5 apples. There's not going to be a universe like that, because that just goes against logic. And again, existence, reality, all of these things are philosophical, all of these things are logical, and all of these things you're presupposing for them to be uniform and to exist in these multiverses. And when you're talking about different multiverses, what you're kind of saying, first of all, is that they really look a lot like us. They look, because to be able to know these different multiverses, there needs to be kind of similarity, right, between this universe and the other one. And so we can understand and come to know by the similarities. But there's another problem here, and that will be that for the multiverses to exist, there needs to be what I will call the one true universe as a result, because you have all of these, you have universal natural laws that apply in these different universes as well. And so you must have this kind of one true universe that contains these multiple universes within itself, that all of these universes are subordinated to, in order for them to be able to exist, in order to, what I'm basically saying is that the laws that we have here, laws of nature that we have here, they apply to the different universes as well. And so all of these universes have common common universals, basically. And so we're getting to this interpretation of multiverse where this, as I said before, this is kind of the only one that's somewhat possible. And that is the idea of the multiverses, where the multiverse is just every logically possible things coming to be, right? So again, in the example of previously, like if you could have different multiverses with different contradictory laws of nature. I mean, then can you argue that there is a multiverse, or rather there's a universe where multiverses don't exist, right? Is that possible? Well, no, right? Is it possible for there to be a creator of those multiverses, and that there's an ultimate creator? Well, if that's not logically possible, again, you're basically saying that these different universes are universes where different logically possible things happen. And so we're getting into this idea of the multiverse where they're just different forms of logical possibilities being actualized. And so they are parallel universes where, for example, I exist in that parallel universe, apparently, according to this idea. So there's a reality one, right? That's a particular reality one that we live in, right? In this universe. And then there's a universe two with particular instantiation of reality two, because all of these universes have reality. And so they all have different, distinct, particular realities. They don't exist in the same reality. If that was the case, then reality will be contradictory. Why? Because, for example, there's a universe in this universe, I exist. In universe 2, let's say, I don't exist. But then it will say, in this reality, I exist and I don't exist at the same time. Well, that's obviously a logical contradiction, right? I can't exist and not exist at the same time. I either exist or I don't. So the only way you can kind of logically defend this, right? And, we're just going down to this path, essentially. The only way you can really defend this is that, well, okay, think of it like a box, right? Like I'm in a small box and I call this reality 1, and outside of this box, either there's no reality or there's reality 2, right? And whatever happens in reality 2 doesn't happen in reality 1, right? Reality 1 is just my own little world, right? So whatever happens in reality 1 really happens, but it just doesn't apply to reality 2. So maybe in reality 1, I'm a little cuck in the cuck shed, and I'm just sitting there playing with my Game Boy. In reality 2, I'm an alpha Chad Sigma playboy. Okay, you know what I'm saying? And I got a bunch of money. I got just a bunch of luxuries. I'm really rich. I'm enjoying life on the highest peak. I'm basically an elite. That's reality 2, let's say. But it doesn't apply, right? I'm not that in reality 1, basically. So you could kind of have that kind of interpretation where there are separate instantiations of realities where it's the same nature of reality. It is just that there are different particulars. Now, and another example I want to give on how this will work. Let's say, for example, that you like to, and this is an example from a visual novel I played months ago. If you hear this example, you most likely know which game I'm talking about. You can write it in the comments below, right? If you know which game this is from. Where, for example, let's say you like to jog, you like to go run a lot, and you run through the forest. Usually in the forest you run to, there's a pathway that divides into two, the left side and the right side. And you always go to the right side because, it's just a shorter way. It's comfortable. You like it. But one day, let's say on the right side, you see a snail and you're like, I don't want to run there. There's a snail here. I hate snails. So I'm going to go to the left side. But let's say on the left side, there was a murderer and he kills you, right? Or you just die because of some different reason. Well, let's say, for example, reality 1, I ignore the snail and I run to the right side. Reality 2, I go to the left side and I cease to exist. I die, right? So these are different logical possibilities and branching paths. And you can have basically infinite amounts of branching paths, and you can have infinite amounts of parallel universes that actualize those logical possibilities. So, for example, in this current universe, I'm a YouTuber. In this other universe, I might be a Sigma playboy, right? And in the other universe, maybe I am a war criminal. I don't know. I'm not a war criminal, obviously, but let's say you are that in the third universe, and so on and so forth, right? Maybe it was good, for example. Maybe it was good for me to die. Maybe it was good because if I continue to exist, maybe I will become a mad scientist and, destroy the universe or something like that. So that's the kind of only interpretation of the multiverse theory I will say that ends up becoming possible in this view. But there is still a massive problem, and I'm going to end this video with that massive problem. And it is a more of an epistemic one, I will say. We've spoken of different particular realities, right? Reality 1, reality 2, reality 3. Well, as I said, these realities are separate, right? They are spatio-temporally separate. So in reality 1, I exist. In reality 2, I don't exist, for example. They're not part of the same reality. That's the problem, you see. That is where the problem is, because how are you able to access? You can't access it empirically speaking, right? You can't access it empirically. The only way there even is a possibility for you to access is through your mind. And so through your mind, you can somehow access reality 2 and know things from reality 2. But that's impossible, right? Or are you suggesting that you can phase in between different realities? Well, you will be suggesting that you have superpowers, right? So you're never going to be able to know if there really even is like a reality 2 or reality 3 or so on and so forth. It's just epistemically impossible to know that multiverse is true. And until you find a way where you can logically and epistemically know that there are multiple universes for certain, there is really no way you can prove multiverse, right? So this is really not a scientific problem. This is not something. But really, none of these things have empirical proofs. I mean, you atheist guys. You guys are very reasonable people, right? You guys are very smart people. You listen to logic and reason. You don't listen to things like fate, right? You don't just tell people to believe things that will be mad. Just say, oh, there are parallel universes. Oh, where's the proof? Oh, trust me, bro. It just exists, right? According to empirical observation, there is a good chance it exists. Just trust me, bro. That's not gonna slide, man. You're no different than the theist in that sense. You're basically telling me to believe in what you're saying. And really, atheism is just another form of belief. It attempts to deny beliefs, but it's just a different form of belief. But I think that's again a different conversation that I'm willing to take on in a different video. What I wanted to kind of showcase here is this idea of the bigness of universe, or there being multiple different universes with its own laws of nature. It's just simply logically impossible. Or are you going to suggest that this universe doesn't have truth? We don't have truth in this universe. Anything we speak of as true is just an illusion. Well, okay, try to convince me that your view is true. Oh, wait, you just denied there's such a thing as truth. Oopsie, right? All of these things that you want to use, right? Logic, reason, truth, metaphysics, all of them are actually against what you're trying to say when you're trying to argue for multiple universes. And that's why it is much more reasonable to just think that there is one universe and there is one creator of the universe. Again, the details of it, arguments on that issue, that is something I will give, I think, in the future. But this is something I think a good starting point why there cannot be multiple universes and why such an idea is just plain silly. And it's truly driven by Redditor sci-fi nerds that just want to imagine cool stuff, right? Oh, the idea that you could phase between multiple different realities. Yeah, that's a very cool superhero ability. It just doesn't exist now, right? Unless you want to be a schizophreniac and claim you have evidence for it existing that we just don't know yet. Oh, you guys don't know it, but I actually been in these different realities, bro. Trust me. Or it's like, oh, when I'm having dreams, I'm actually witnessing different realities. Like guess what? You gotta say that, yeah. It all leads to superstition. It just leads to superstition, and there's no logical basis behind it. And the fact that people just let this kind of crap slide and then attack you for saying I believe in God is, I think it tells us a lot about atheism today. Thank you for watching. I will see all of you in the next video. If you like this, like, share it with your friends, subscribe, all of that jazz. Tell your friends about me and how much of a cool Sigma Playboy Alpha I am. And I will see all of you in the next video. Thanks for watching. May God be with you all.